Hey, what's going on? And welcome back to the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast. Your host, Thomas Keenan. Today, I've got this dude, Dustin Baker, sitting across from me on this virtual screen here on StreamYard. And Dustin came through. I'm just transparent about this shit. So looks like Dustin hired a podcast agency to book him on shows like this, which I've done before. And I think it's a fantastic idea. It's great for marketing and that kind of stuff. Basically, the company that you hired, Dustin, did a good enough job where they kind of got through all my bullshit detectors.
Good.
And here you are in front of us today.
Yeah,
exactly.
Big smoke
exactly.
screen.
So well
Thomas,
done.
Big smoke screen.
Yes, sir. Reading over your bio and stuff when it came through, kind of piqued my interest because, and we'll get into what you do here in a minute, of course. Since the age of, I'm 44 now. And since the age of, I want to say 38, 39, I started to take my health and fitness seriously. So seeing that, your company name is Bioprotein Technology, and some of the things that you guys are doing as far as alternatives with HGH, human growth hormone, peptides, and so on and so forth, it really was like, I should probably have a conversation with this guy because this is a lot of the topics and whatnot, believe it or not, that we wind up covering and discussing in the work that I do at Step It Up Academy in my coaching and mastermind program, right? Because it's like, hey, we want to develop people who are high performers. And one of the areas that we have to focus on if they want to be high performers is the health and fitness. And if you neglect it, like I did for so many years, like you're going down the toilet one way or the other. So with that being said, sir, I welcome you to the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast. And I'm really excited to have a genuine, authentic, open, direct conversation with you around what it is, what you do, business, life, and anything else, any other path that this conversation takes us to.
Yeah, I'm grateful to be here. I'm glad you said that because you literally just described probably 99% of our customer base, which is exactly that. You wake up kind of 40 something years old. You don't feel like you used to. You don't look like you used to in the mirror. You've spent your entire life either providing for your business, your teams, your wife, your kids, and not yourself. And then you wake up, boom, 44. You're like, yo, I am not the guy I used to be. Like, what happened? I want that back. And that's exactly why people come to us, and that's what we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell me a bit about how you got involved in the industry and what it is that drives you. Like, what's the purpose behind what you're doing? What gives you that gusto to wake up every morning and go after it?
So I bought this company in 2018. Mm-hmm. It looked very different several years ago. It was in a very different state. I make the joke a lot of time on shows like this. Companies are for sale for one of two reasons. The first being they're wildly successful, and a VC, venture capitalist, comes in, private equity, and they say, okay, cool. We have more money than you do. Let us do it. Here's some cash. Go away. And it's great. It's good. It's typically good for everybody. Not always, but it's typically good for everybody. We're on the same page. The second reason companies are available for acquisition is they're not doing so well. And they need a rehab. They need to be refurbished. There's either managerial issues, there's processes issues, there's staffing issues, there's money issues. Sometimes there's all of those. This company, when acquired, was the latter of the two options. And it was something I was very passionate about because I was actually a customer of theirs prior to purchasing the company. And I had used the products that were being created by this lab here in town through my earlier business ventures, whether it be in professional sports, whether it be with your middle-aged population in gyms that I owned, that kind of stuff. And the products always worked really great. I used them. They used them. They worked great across, broad ranges of different individuals and populaces. And I just knew something was there. And that's what I wanted to do. I just knew I could do it better. And we walked in. I have one business partner. We walked in and we're like, hey, let us give you some money and let us have this. And that was literally it. It was 3 weeks. It was light speed for an acquisition deal. Some lawyers got together, drafted a contract. I think we had one revision. A check was written and it was over. And we're like, whoa, that was really fast, but it was in our benefit. And now we're several years down the road. We're in over 40 different countries. We have physicians from here to Canada. I was on the phone with one this morning from South Africa, in the Middle East. I mean, it's been a pretty wild ride the last few years.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Congratulations on that too. Let's look, since this is realistically a podcast around business, if you don't
Sure.
mind, let's spend a couple of minutes here talking about the acquisition and the process and some of the things you've gone through. And I don't know, maybe you've done this a couple times in the past. It sounds like you're an experienced dude, right? So if you had to give some advice to someone who's like, "Hey, I'm either interested in," and I know these are two completely different things. I'm either interested in
Sure.
selling my company, right? Or I'm looking to acquire one. What are like three top pointers you'd give to those people to look out for before they went down that road?
So, I actually have experience in both. My wife sold her business that I kind of walked with her through that process and helped with.
Mhm.
When she was pregnant with our first child and decided she wanted to stay at home, so she sold her business. So I have some good tips for that one. I am not as thoroughly. We kind of found some stuff out the hard way with the sales process, but in
Mhm.
acquisition, that's something I am a little bit more comfortable giving advice on. But
Sure.
um, I get a lot of individuals who enough to talk about who come to me and are like, hey, I'm sick of the rigmarole of my job, or it doesn't align
Mhm.
with my personal beliefs. I want to start my business. I want to start a business. I don't know what to do. They just want out of the rat race. Little do they know
Yeah.
they're going to be walking into more work than they realize that they think, but still, at least they're
Mhm.
doing something for themselves. What I have found going through this from a very small kind of build up thing is there are, and I truly believe that there are a lot of opportunities in today's market for individuals to sell off their businesses. If you're coming from a place of not wanting to take on or can't get financed for a business debt, right?
Yep.
Or not potentially interested in taking on an investment group or don't have someone willing to invest in you. I have told multiple people like there are really great cash businesses that are very profitable that owners would probably love to sell off as they age and
Mm.
to go in, start making some phone calls, start calling companies maybe you would like to acquire. We're talking small businesses and seeing if there isn't some type of owner kind of ownership financing opportunity where, hey, I want to take over your business. I want to own your business. I don't have I don't necessarily have the cash to do it. Are you willing to own or finance this?
Mhm.
So looking to an operator and going, hey, you want out, I want in. Let's work on a deal where you're going to get royalties for X amount of time. We're going to agree upon a sales price, and we're going to satisfy that total number over the course of X years with kickers for certain different things. It will do two things for you. One, if the individual is operating a business that's doing profitably, you're probably going to want to continue what they're doing, and they can help you through that process. They have
Mhm.
skin in the game to do so. They're not going to want to watch because it's an investment for them. They're not going to want to watch their investment disappear, right?
Mm.
They have skin in the game to help you make it successful because their payments are based upon your success. So I look at businesses like car washes, I think are phenomenal. That to me would be a great, hey, they're typically smaller family owned car wash businesses. They're cash based. They're, there's maintenance programs you can sign up for to look at. If you haven't told them,
Yeah.
I've actually looked at into these and looking into the
Mhm. Mhm.
franchising of car washes. If you're really good and you're really smart, you might be able to acquire some land and property, which makes you your own landlord, which will help you to then no longer have a liability on the balance sheet, but you would have an accruing asset, right? Something that's appreciating with your business. So
Yeah.
that is the first thing that comes to mind for somebody trying to get into the entrepreneurship world and making a business acquisition. I always like to, in deals, looking to thread in the previous owner. I want to say this the right way. I've never actually had to verbalize this like this, but thread them in a way where they consistently have skin in the game from if you're agreeing, let's say we're talking small businesses. So let's say you're agreeing on a $500,000 sales price, coming up with 150 or 200 in cash, wherever you get that from, and then either financing or end up or creating a royalty payout over the next 5 years. Typically, that's a
Mhm.
good number for them to satisfy the remainder of that debt. So that way, you're not kind of like, left in the dark. You're not 500 in the hole right to start. You're only a few hundred
Yeah.
grand. And if it's a cash, if it's a business that's already creating some sort of a revenue stream, you're just
Mhm.
in a way safer position
Yep.
to in a lot smaller or less deep of a hole to have to dig yourself out of.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have a colleague of mine who's a business broker, and one of the things he's told me time and time again is even from the owner who is doing the owner financing, it makes a lot of sense from a tax perspective for that person too. Because instead of saying taking a $500,000 hit income this year,
He's got to pay taxes on that. Yeah.
right, you're going to pay taxes on it. Now, okay, you got 100, you got 150K, and now over the next 5 years, the remainder is split.
Yeah, I didn't actually think about it that way. That's a great way to do that.
Yeah.
The only other piece of advice, and I will say this because I've had businesses that have failed spectacularly as well. And the one thing, the one thing that has really gotten me out is I have been the luckiest guy with mentorship and, more importantly, attorneys. So attorneys are like doctors. They're not necessarily somebody you want to go see, but you're going to want to pay for their services. You don't want the cheapest, crappiest doctor, right? You're not flying. Well, some people do, and it's an awful experience. Some people fly to Mexico or to Turkey and get surgeries done, whatever. It's a bad experience. Same with attorneys. You get what you pay for, 1,000,000%. And I have had attorneys save me a lot, and also create great deals and get us good deals as we've continued. That has probably made me a ton of money. So attorneys is a big deal.
Yeah, that's solid advice.
Don't try and do this yourself.
No, there's certain aspects of business that I'm a firm believer, like, hey, look, find your zone of genius, hang out there, operate there, get better there. But like, for instance, for me, like I am not the bookkeeper. Okay. Like I understand the importance of it. I understand the importance of having the balance sheet and the profit and loss accurate at all times, because we never know when a deal or an opportunity is coming up. And by the way, when those deals and opportunities come up, they tend to want to look at those things. You need financing. They're going to want to look at it and they want it accurate. Right. So I understand the importance of it, but please don't ask me to go in there and input the data on a weekly basis. Like I will lose my mind. Right. It's not where I want to operate. Right. So find your area, your zone of genius, and then find the people. Like one of the things that was taught to me by a really successful dude who kind of mentored me a little bit when I first started getting real serious about business. It's like you got to get yourself around smarter people who are actually doing some things. And when you get around them, sit down and shut the fuck up. That's the exact words he told me. And I was like, at first I was like, oh man, like, all right. But a lot of the advice that he gave me there was very valid. Get into the room, sit down, open your 2 ears, like 2 ears versus one mouth, right? This is how the universe or God has created us. We're going to listen twice as much as we speak. Listen, absorb as much as you can. And then when it comes time for you to put some plays into action, you have the knowledge and you've received the knowledge from wise people who have actually had these life experiences before. So, I've liked it.
I mean, I agree. When I had my first big business or big influx of cash, I was a big mouth kind of ego type of guy. And I was in a group. I've always had friends that are older than me and a lot more continuously. It's just way more successful than I was. And I remember being at parties running my mouth and how great this was and how great that was. And now looking back, I can only imagine. Now it's kind of like things have shifted. I mean, this is a decade later, right? Things have shifted and I'm in a different position. Looking back, I'm like, man, if I would have ran into myself now, that kid, I was like, dude, shut up, dude. I mean, just like, but no, I think that's a very common story. I think that's part of the evolution of entrepreneurs through their journeys of success and failure and stuff like that. And hopefully you do make it out on the other side and get to be the guy to look back and go, wow, that guy was a complete douche and get there and hopefully not stay there. Right. But I mean, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. There's also a very fine line between confidence and cockiness, in my opinion. And this is something I've experienced before. Right. And look, if you've had, for the most part, and this is a blanket statement, if you've had some form of success or in your life, there's probably some bit of you that has some cockiness attached to it. It is what it is. Right. But there is a fine line between cockiness and confidence as well. And several times I've had situations where I've gone into, whether it's a meeting, a party, whether it's, an event where you're meeting people, you're having conversations, and you're talking about something with knowledge, like real world knowledge that you've experienced, that you've been through. And certain people who may be involved in the conversation take it as like, oh, this is a cocky guy. Like, no, I'm not cocky. I'm confident because I have lived through this and I understand what the process is to get from A to Z. So I also find that those who are the first to say, oh, he's a cocky son of a bitch, are the ones who haven't gone through and done a lot of the things.
I was about to say the same thing. I was
Yeah.
about to basically say the same thing and maybe a few different words, but I agree. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk back to the nitty gritty here of the
Sure.
company and some of the products that you guys are putting together and getting out to the marketplace. Tell me a little bit. Like, look, man, I got a decent understanding of peptides and whatnot. Like, I'm
Sure.
very open about it. I've been on TRT now for about 3 years, maybe 4 years, and I've had some
You go to like a
peptides
clinic,
and some.
you go to a cash pay clinic, you go to a doc, he
Yep.
takes your blood work, does all that stuff.
Yeah, correct. So I work with a wellness doctor local here in Dallas
Sure.
and have been working with him for quite some time. And basically, we do my labs about every 90 days or so, make sure everything's on point and the way it's supposed to be. I'm not taking, testosterone to become a giant bodybuilder. I'm taking it for the health benefits. And one of the things that he explained to me before we started, he's like, look, you're a business owner, you're a high performance kind of guy. And he goes, you're feeding and fueling your body as if you're a Honda Civic. He goes, you should be
Right.
feeding and fueling your body as if you're the Porsche or the Ferrari. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
shit. And that hit a nerve with me because I spent 22 years as a custom car audio installer. So like I understood the car connection right there big
The
time.
car
So I was like,
analogy. Yeah.
oh yeah, bingo. So I was like, all right, fine. So we get involved in it didn't kick off immediately, but it slowly over time, I started to feel so much better. Right. And I definitely operate at a different level now because of the things that I do and the regimens that I have. And it's not just the external things that we're taking over here, the TRT or peptides or the stuff that your company's offering, but what other things are you doing? What does the diet look like? What does the exercise look like? What does the sleep look like? What does the water intake look like? And I think a lot of people in today's society just want the quick fix. They want the pill, they want the shot, and all of a sudden they want to look like a Greek god. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about what you guys offer, how it works, and how you're helping people.
Yeah. So your clinic that you go to,
Mhm.
those are our customers. You and the clinic both. So our business is split into two. We sell and always have since the inception and creation of this specific company and brand has been to sell to physicians. So we create our products, we manufacture them, and then we have a sales team, and they sell to the clinics. They go to expos. The doctors then provide them to their patients via
Mhm.
their existing clinic. During COVID, a lot of those things changed. Meaning
Yep.
clinics shut down. You used to have to wait in your car to like go into the doctor. So like that
Mhm.
experience, that over the counter type experience and product stuff didn't really exist for several weeks, months, depending upon what area you're in. And those
Yep.
areas like Las Vegas, New York, Miami, LA, if you're noticing any of these, trends of those areas, which are our largest concentration of physicians and clinics, is they are all very more on the extreme side of those shutdown type things. So our sales, we had to fix some stuff quick. So during that process, we learned the internet business, and we figured out,
Mhm.
which a lot of physicians did actually with telehealth, which has been great for us as well, because now you get physicians that they can prescribe products like this all over the country, but from one location. But anyway, we figured out
Mhm.
how to do the business on the internet. We built the functionality and the infrastructure to then provide our products direct. So now we have a direct to patient portal on our website, and then we also sell to physicians. So that's the basic kind of model of where we're coming from.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What about the products themselves? What
Yep.
what are you offering? How are they helping people?
So our big claim to fame is BioPro Plus. It's a non-synthetic alternative to human growth hormone. So human growth hormone
Mhm.
is secreted by the pituitary gland in your brain. It's responsible for
Yes.
metabolic function, workout function, sexual function, energy, all kinds of fun stuff. Before that hormone ever actually gets used, it has to be converted by the liver into growth factors. Growth factors they're protein cytokines. They're cell signals. So they just get sent out into the blood to trigger these cells. So if you're taking a peptide, you are stimulating the glandular function to create more growth hormone to then get converted into growth factors. If you're taking a
Mhm.
synthetic growth hormone injection, which is a complete replacement, similar to TRT, which is
Mhm.
testosterone replacement therapy, you're
Yeah.
replacing that hormone. It still has to get converted by the liver into growth factors. So what we do is, instead of manipulating the glandular function, which is what a peptide does, or instead of replacing the hormone with a synthetic drug that's going to shut down your natural production, we simply give you the end result. We give you the hormone after its conversion, which are growth factors.
Mhm.
They're literally just very specific protein and amino acid change, which is where the name bioprotein technology comes from. They're cell signals. They don't cause any of the negative side effects. They don't have to be administered through a needle. They don't cause any long-term negative harm. So we're basically just giving you a third option. You can take your synthetic drug replacement, which is great for everybody. Unfortunately, it's insanely expensive. It's super regulated. In some areas, if a physician even prescribes it outside of for kids, which is growth hormone deficiency, they can lose their medical license. And then peptides were a great thing. And they popped up and everybody loved them. Well, in November of last year, growth hormone secretagogues peptides were banned. So the FDA did my job for me. So they banned these peptides. So we were doing great just as a third option. And then the government did a big lift for us, which is great. And now we're kind of the replacement for a lot of these peptides. Not that you can't get them, because you can get them overseas, which is a whole thing in and of itself. But we're just an option for individuals who aren't necessarily either candidates for the needle, can't afford the needle, or aren't interested in the side effects.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's talk about the government getting involved here a little bit, because I like a little conspiracies here and there. Here's my take on it, right? So peptides are they're taking off. And like, by the way, peptides have been around for a long time. They've just kind of, the public is starting to know about them more and more over the last couple of years, my opinion. But it's like, okay, cool. There's all these really cool things out there, right? You got BPC 157, right? Body protective compound 157. It's been talked about
the
on
Wolverine drug, right? Then they call it the Wolverine drug.
Yeah, it's the healing peptide, right? Supposedly. So BPC 157 goes out, all these other peptides, like there's thousands. If you want to go down that rabbit hole and do your research on it, go ahead. Like you can get lost for days and weeks. But you got stuff like that, BPC 157, right? And it's meant to heal areas of your body, soft tissue, I believe. So cool. You got BPC 157. You've got all these other cool things out there that are making the general public healthier. And all of a sudden, the government comes over and says, no. You can't use this shit anymore. Let's make it all go away. So the conspiracy theorist in me is like, well, what's all that about? Right? Because now if you want to go deeper into the conspiracy hole, there's all these talks about the government intentionally lessening the amount of testosterone that males are getting these days. Right. And, when I did my numbers initially a couple of years ago, like I was in the dirt, dude. I was 232.
Sure. Very normal.
Right. Yeah. Right. And normal for now for today's males, but go back 20, 30 years ago, and what were the numbers? Probably 600, 700.
I can tell you actually.
Let's hear it.
I mean, I can. So when you go in to do blood work, there are parameters for being candidates for these types of drugs. And those numbers are a sliding scale with every year that passes, and depending upon what area of the country that you are in. So there was actually a study that came out in 2021, I believe. And the study was to show the hormone decline within men in the last 2 decades. So they tested men and then related it to 20 years ago. And what they found is that a 20-something, I think it was like a 22-year-old or 23-year-old in today's time, this is 2021, has the same exact hormone level and testosterone levels as a 67-year-old man from the year 2000. Then if you start to follow those numbers completely back, you're looking at a different human being in 1944. Okay. And you can actually graph these human beings and what they look like next to each other and where we're headed. And it's terrifying. In fact, there was a study that came out a few months ago out of the United Kingdom they did a now this is a mathematical prediction, but data is everything. Math is everything, right? You're not never, and I teach this to our team all the time, because in business, as entrepreneurs, you have feelings and you have instincts, and you shouldn't negate those instincts. But sometimes you get to a point, especially as you grow, where those instincts only get you so far, and data is what you need to do. If you want to scale, it's a math equation. It's algebra. I got a variable X, I got variable Y, I got to equal C. So what can I manipulate to then increase, the total revenue? But anyway, what I'm getting at is, so the data is the data. And what they've shown in the United Kingdom is, and they figured out, is that by the year, and this is a singular study, but by the year 2043, they will have a 0% fertility rate in their men, meaning you will not be able to get pregnant, or a man will not be able to naturally procreate without some sort of a medical intervention, which can play into all your conspiracy theories that you like, right? I have some really good ones. You're not going to like this one because I know you're on TRT, but about 3, and I'm not some savant. I just look at trends. That's what I do. We're business people. You look at trends. So speaking on peptides, and then I'll get to my TRT thing. There are we're no different than any other business. We go to expos, we have to get our name out there. We were talking about hiring a PR agent to get me on these podcasts. Why? Because I'm not able to market like everybody else is. We have, the products are not, we're not allowed to market on Amazon. Not that we would. We're not allowed to do Google digital ads. Not, I probably would do those. We've been banned by Facebook repeatedly, which we're trying to figure out. So I go on shows, right? We do all kinds of stuff. So we go to expos, medical expos. That's where we meet a lot of our physicians. And about 3 years ago, our entire pitch, we do our pitch in 3 words, which you want a piece of advice, figure out how to say everything your company does or what your product does in 5 or less words, right? We're a prescription HGH alternative, period. That's what we do. So the first thing that they would ask us is, is this like peptides? Is this like peptides? Everything was peptides, right? And so I was like, man, it is, but it isn't, and blah, blah, blah. And this is 3 years ago. And as we started looking at it, I would say to these physicians, I'm like, peptides are great and they're awesome. I'm not saying that they don't work. I'm not saying all of these drugs work. Do they work for everybody? No, my product does not work for everybody. Nothing works for everyone. And nothing is going to outwork what we call a pizza donut diet. If you're not doing anything, you can take whatever drug you want. It ain't going to work how you want it to. Anyway, so I was like, okay, peptides. Here's the things with peptides. You guys are prescribing them what's called off-label. Meaning they are originally created to, so just to take a step back, because I don't know who your audience is, but peptides are amino acid chains, very similar to what we do, which are protein cytokines, which are just more fully complete amino acid profiles. They're amino acid chains that do what we do, right? They're triggering a chemical response in the body. Specifically, growth hormone secretagogues will trigger the pituitary gland to create more growth hormone. It's like squeezing it like a lemon. Anyway, it was created for, now again, there's thousands, right? But these peptides specifically were created to help with post-surgical healing, to accelerate the time after surgery. You are not supposed to take them for longer than 3 weeks. Okay. And there's a reason for that. You have down regulation. You have what's called negative feedback loop. The body shuts down these natural processes because you're doing it synthetically. So it says, I don't need to do this anymore. Great. Anyway, they work. So what do people do? They prescribe them for more stuff and then more and more. And what that's called prescribing off label. Eventually you do it too much. The FDA goes, hey guys, cool it. We don't know what you're doing. You don't know what kind of problems you're going to cause. We're going to do it anyway. Okay, guys, I said, cool it. Like you're not supposed to do this. And people kept doing it. And then third, they're like, okay, you're done. These are Schedule 2 and blah, blah, blah. And they will make new ones. My point being is that they shut stuff down when it's getting taken out of control. Why I'm saying this is because if we want to feed into the conspiracy thing, and I've said this openly many times, and it's very unpopular opinion, but I am saying, so I said that anyway, I said that 3 years ago and boom, within 3 years, banned. I am thinking, and I don't make any hard claims, but if we follow on the same track we're doing right now with testosterone replacement, and speaking to your point of view, which is like, hey, they're trying to shut down the stuff that makes us better, which TRT works. It works for most guys. Does it work for everybody? No, there's different things that you have to adjust within yourself to make sure you absorb it optimally. But I'm saying by 2030 is my year. 2030 calling out, you're going to see regulations really come down super hard on testosterone replacement therapies, because I'm in Florida and I don't know what it's like in Dallas where you're at, but you have a McDonald's, you got a Starbucks, and you have a TRT clinic.
Yep. They're everywhere.
It's not even drive-through. I just go, I get my blood panels done somewhere else. I can call a physician. I don't even have to show up. And that stuff will be in a cooler bag outside my front door in the next 24 to 48 hours. So to speak to your conspiracy theory, it's just 2030 is my year that I'm calling it out.
All right. So let's make believe it's 2030. Or we're coming up to 2030, and we know, hey, the FDA said, hey, you know what, guys, we're going to start hammering down on this big time.
100%.
What do people who are reliant upon TRT do at that point?
Oh man, you're in big trouble. Well, I wouldn't say you're in big trouble. Somebody will come up with something really cool. Hopefully, I will, or my team will. But you're laughing, but that's what we do, right? We look for opportunities in the market where there are. Because I'm not necessarily a prescription drug guy. I believe in medical intervention, I believe in medical intervention when medically necessary, right? You chop off my arm, you better believe I'm going to the hospital and I want you to dope me up with whatever you can do and fix it, do your thing. I don't look to medical intervention if it's something I can fix on my own or at least try first, right? If you're at if your testosterone's below 250 or 300 and your life sucks, go get it, dude. Go do your thing, man. Like feel good. Like there's no reason to live, an awful existence because if you don't have to. So
Yeah.
when I say that, I believe in it when it's medically necessary. So 2030 comes and they're like, yo, cut this stuff out. I'll be looking for an option. I have a few things that we work on. Our product does help testosterone absorption and optimization rates. There's a whole science and reason behind that. If you'd like to discuss, it's not no big deal. But there's plenty of other. You can look to the world of herbal medicine. There's plenty of powders and herbs you can use. Do I believe in all of them? 99%. No, I don't. But there are some that have good science behind it, like Shilajit or Tonkat Ali and different compounds that we either have worked with, we potentially have looked at to work with in other scenarios. The nothing is going to outperform sleep. Sleep is the number one driver of hormonal production naturally. So you have two sleep cycles that are most important in your sleep. It's SWS, slow wave sleep, and you have REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. They're your two deep restorative sleep cycles. During that time, especially men, you are secreting 70 to 90% of your natural hormones. So if you're disrupting those sleep cycles in any way, you are like, even if you're waking up more than once a night, you're disrupting those sleep cycles. So if you are at, a low number, like anything else, it can be improved, and you can improve natural hormone production. You have food is a great way to do that. We're talking conspiracy theories. So if you're eating processed foods and all these different dyes and all of these different chemicals that are added to your food products, well, maybe one by one, they're not so bad. But when your entire diet has, and each food you eat has 10 of them, they add up, dude. And that's where people make mistakes, is they don't realize how fast this stuff adds up. So fixing that, easy, less expensive. Well, I wouldn't say less expensive these days, but price effective. And then you have nothing outside of that other than exercise is going to really, boost those things. There's plenty of science between high intensity exercise and spraying things like growth hormone and testosterone that is going to improve those levels. And then absolutely mitigating and minimizing cortisol production, which is your stress hormone.
Yep.
Those are like top 4 things that you don't buy my stuff, don't buy anybody else's stuff, get that stuff handled, and your life will dramatically improve.
Yeah. So full transparency here. If I had to do it all over again, and I was having this conversation the other day with my woman, if I had to do it all over again, I think I would have gone a different route before hopping on the TRT train first. And she hit me with something that made a lot of sense. She goes, yeah, but I don't think you had the mindset or the willpower or the desire or drive to really go the natural route at that point in your life, right? Like, I'm just a different human now than when I first started, taking that stuff, and like just life experiences, stuff I've endured and gone through, good, bad, ugly, everything in between. So she made a valid point there, but what I'm trying to say here is if somebody is considering or wants to go down this route and says, hey, maybe I want to go do some TRT or get checked out for it. Yeah, go ahead, get your blood work done, have the conversations. But there's also some alternative methods out there that you may want to take a look at first before you start going on TRT. And, as you start taking TRT and like, you're naturally going to shut your body's production of testosterone down. Right. Like, that wasn't a big concern of me. Like, I've got enough kids where I don't want anymore. From that perspective,
doctors don't talk about that. And I feel bad sometimes bringing it up. I'm so happy you said that, because TRT for long enough, dude, it completely eliminates your ability to procreate and have children. So, that's important for some people.
Yeah, it is. It is. I've got enough running around where I could probably hand off a couple to some other people and I wouldn't notice. So, but yeah, it's some real serious stuff that you need to consider before, getting involved or going down the route and saying, hey, is TRT really the right option for me? So those who are listening, go ahead and do your due diligence, do your research before you jump on it, for sure. And I wish I did a little bit more.
My to continue to step upon my soapbox, my big piece of advice is find a physician that has multiple options for you instead of just one. Because guys, this is a business show. I mean, we're all in none of us are 501, none of us are nonprofits, right? They are not either. Physicians are not nonprofits, no matter as much as you want to think. They are not. They make there's a reason why they're flocking in droves to the cash pay world. Physicians, it's going to be harder and harder to find non-cash pay physicians because the really good ones don't take insurance, and that's tough. but it's the fact. So find yourself a very good, there's an emerging, and I'm saying emerging, but it's been around for a while, of what's called integrative health. Okay. They're integrative physicians, meaning in the medical world, you have, your fringe left, holistic, crystals and crazy stuff all the way to the left, right? And then you have on your right, let's say, your orthopedic surgeons and your, guys way to the right. So there is, and then in between, there's all different types of buckets. I mean, we even have these buckets filled out within our business of, what salesperson's calling on who to have, these different verticals. My point being is in the middle, there is a phenomenal group called integrative physicians. Okay. They're medical doctors, they're MDs, they're DOs, but they're not going to magically just run for the synthetic drug to give you. They can prescribe them, they offer them, they understand them, they know them, but they're going to look from a little bit of the further left side, what's called functional health. Okay. Functional doctors, where functional doctors, they actually still can prescribe hormone drugs. They look at bioidentical stuff, and they look at their whole thing is figuring out the root cause. So the integrative space is like this perfect medium where you have real physicians that are highly qualified to do so. They've been to medical school. They've done their accreditations. They have to get accredited every single year. They have to continue to get additional credits, right? It's not just a one and done type thing, which is most all physicians, but it's good to know. And they will look at your root causes. They test your microbiome. They test how your body's digesting food. They test all your blood panels. They do blood panels that normal physicians don't even know about anymore.
Yep.
And then they'll look at he'll give you options. And you want to work with somebody that's going to give you options, because at the end of the day, it's your choice. You got to work out what's best for you. And I know we're going kind of going hard in the paint on TRT, but sometimes TRT is the best option for you, right? Sometimes BioPro Plus is the best option for you. Sometimes none of it's the best option for you. And you just have to get off the couch, right?
Yeah.
Or you find a doctor, the best kind of doctor is the guy that can make money off of you and goes, I'm not going to give you anything until you do X, Y, and Z. You find a guy like that, that's a guy you should stick with. So that's where your due diligence phase comes into. And believe me, they are worth the money. And you don't really have to go there as much as you think. So it's not some massive, medical expense. But just like lawyers, they're worth the money.
Yeah. Hey, man, that's really solid advice and spoken from someone who's got a ton of experience with it. And I just want to thank you for being open, honest, and direct about it. And because look, the other approach could have been you just pushing your product the whole time. And you clearly didn't come in here. You said, no. We want to educate everyone who's listening to this from all aspects of this. And I think it's a real honorable thing to do.
So Thomas, I remember we were talking about confidence and cocky.
Yeah.
So this is going to come off kind of the cocky perspective, but I'll take it from we actually care is believe me, dude, we're selling enough product. I don't need to hawk one person at a time. We like customers that are happy. We like people that are happy. We tell people all the time, listen, you don't need to buy our product. One of the things we get all the time is guys who are they're young, they're 18, they're 16. Dude, you don't need this. Come back and talk to us in a few years. Go get your blood panels done, test it out. Or, hey, it's not inexpensive, dude. So that's just not the company we do. I'd rather people just be happy. We do plenty. We do okay. It's, I don't need the extra couple $100, but I care. A while ago, you were asking, what my passion is and stuff like that. I actually came from the fitness business and sports business. And, when I actually, back then it was a lot of money to me, but, when I started making a few bucks, I started realizing how I was making money, and how I was making money realistically was that kind of light bulb on in my head of who were the people that were coming to me for what I was providing. And it was always there were some women, but it was typically men, 44 years old, recently divorced, entrepreneurs, right? Or high level executives, same things that probably come to you for certain things. Waking up and being like, man, where did my life go? I used to play college football, or I used to be on track, or I used to work out, and I'm gone. What happened to me? And my job became helping these guys get their life back. And aside from the working out and fitness, what I really realized what I was doing was I was helping them just get their mental life back, because the physical changes would happen and they would look better in the mirror, but more than all of that was the way that they felt on the inside. their confidence levels, the reduction in anxiety, depression, stress. That's what I used to do. And that's exactly what we do with this company. I'm just able to do it at a much higher rate of speed than, only being able to work with 12 guys a week.
Yeah. And it makes a bunch of sense. It's like, hey, I can come here and offer these products and run this company, and we can impact thousands of people at a clip versus me hanging out and, maybe serving 12 clients a week.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Love it, man. Dude, this has been awesome. I appreciate you coming in here and just keeping it real and having some really awesome conversation. Where's the best place people can connect with you and learn more about the product?
I mean, our website's great. Social media is the best place, though. We are very lucky to have the social media that we do. It's all user generated stuff, and you can get a lot of your questions answered by guys who actually use the product. Or even if you want to DM us and ask the guys there, where's a clinic closest to you, can get some more information. But you can find us you can check out Instagram, Bioprotein Tech, at BIOPROTEINTECH. Website's the exact same, bioproteintech.com. And just to put, somebody better take that car wash idea and run with it. Cause if I had the time, I 100% would, dude. I think those are just, I know a couple guys, we have the same attorneys, but I'm surrounded with I'm very lucky with the people who are around me. They're a million times more successful than I do, but I know some of the guys that own those franchises, and dude, they're killing it. Absolutely killing it. So take that car wash idea and run with it.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. Dustin, I appreciate your time here today, man. And I wish you nothing but the best in the future.
Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your audience's time. And hopefully I talk to you again.
Thank you for tuning in to the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast. Make sure you head over to stepitupentrepreneur.com and make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast.